So you want to raid lead in Final Fantasy XIV.
You know who else can have the mount too? Nia can have the mount too. And you know who can have the minion? Nia can have the fucking minion too. And you know who can have the fucking orchestrion role? Nia can have the orchestrion role too. End of story. Have a good night, everyone. Goodbye. Catalina, you are the greediest piece of shit healer I've ever played with in my entire fucking life. You're gonna get
Look at that fight. Bro, how many times mistake I do today? How many times
It's a
mistake I do?
game. It's a game.
Look, everything Mori. Fucking hell. Fuck you, Mori. How many times is a Mori there? Fuck you, Jibai. Fucking idiot.
So you still want to lead a static? Well, my name is Libo, and whether you're new to the raiding scene or you've been around here for eons, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know in order to successfully build, manage, and succeed with your static. If you're someone new to Final Fantasy XIV and you're just getting into the raid scene, you might be confused on what a static even is. A static simply means a group of people that come together at a set time in order to progress and clear the harder content in the game. Those typically being Savage, Ultimates, and more recently variant dungeons and chaotic alliance raids. A little later on in the video, I'm going to break down the different types of statics, being casual, semi-hardcore or mid-core, and hardcore, as well as world prog. So first, you need to decide if you should even lead a static or should you just join one. Leading can be rewarding, but it comes with extra steps. And if you're someone who enjoys organizing and has strong leadership skills, a vision for how the group should progress, leading might be for you. But if you prefer to focus solely on your own performance without the added pressure of managing other people, then joining an existing static might be the better option. The next two things I want to talk about go hand in hand together, which will be setting a schedule and planning the content you want to run, as well as deciding the type of static you want to lead. You should start with planning what content you want to run, whether that be Savage, Ultimate, Chaotic Alliance, or anything else in the game, and follow that up with setting a schedule. Typically, statics will have a set schedule. Of course, if members of the group are absent, then you can have some flexibility there or shift times, but we'll talk about that later on. Let's take, for example, how I run my static. My static runs content from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern for 3 hours each night, which means we rack up a total of 12 hours a week. We run the current Savage tier, sometimes older Savage tiers if we're trying to prep for mechanics such as the Eden tier for the upcoming Ultimate through. As the raid lead, I will set the schedule for my group ahead of time so they know what to expect. And when you've been with your group for a while too, you can have discussions as far as what type of content you guys want to run, if you want to clear some of the older Ultimates during downtime, or if you just want to take a break and come back when there's fresh content. Once you've figured out your schedule and initial content you want to run, that will naturally slot you into either being a casual, mid-core, hardcore, or world prog group. These different types of groups aren't exact science, so I'm going to lay out what most people consider them to be, but there is some nuance here. All different types of groups can run all different types of content, so just because you're a casual group, you can run Ultimates, which are considered the hardest content in the game. Typically, these different types of groups refer to the mindset and the time commitment of the group. With a casual group, you could be raiding as little as 1 to 2 days a week, doing 2 to 4 hours each week. A semi-hardcore or a mid-core group might be raiding closer to 10 to 15 hours a week, while a hardcore group would be raiding closer to 25 hours a week and up. And a world prog group is going to be raiding as many hours as they physically can. Yes, they will raid 16, 18-hour days back to back, only stopping for minimal sleep and food. This is because these groups are pushing to be the very first in the world to clear the new content, So they will only be performing this level of rating in short bursts when a new Savage tier or new Ultimate comes out. Alright, so we've decided upon the schedule you want and the type of content you want your group to run. Now we need to discuss how you're going to actually recruit people into your group. However, first, wherever you're going to start recruiting, you need to outline very clearly your schedule, the type of content you're going to run, the expectations you have for the members in the group, and any other details you find important up front before you start recruiting. This way, anybody that does trial for your group or end up joining it isn't blindsided with false expectations. When you are setting these expectations as well, you need to make sure you can live up to them and follow through. If you're going to set up a hardcore group and plan the members you recruit to raid for 20 hours a week, let's say, you better be able to, as a leader, follow through on that commitment and hold other members in your group accountable to those hours as well as yourself. These expectations can look something like this, for example. This is from my group. When I was recruiting for a regen healer, you can see I outlined what type of content I'm recruiting for, which would be Fru, how many members are present currently, the type of group, our current status of what we're doing, the days we plan to raid, and the hours, the current lineup, as well as any expectations. You don't have to follow my example down to a T either. Feel free to look around and see other examples out there, which brings us to our next point of where to actually find people to recruit. A great place you can look is in Discord servers such as The Balance or FFXIV Recruitment. These are just some of the ones I use, but there's plenty out there. And I can show you with The Balance, you come down here to LFM looking for more, and you'll be able to see other people's posts as well as make your own post in there. Aside from putting out your own posts looking for more, you can also browse the looking for group categories and see if anybody in there matches what you're searching for and shoot them a message. Another avenue is recruiting your friends or your significant other into your static. Though I want to heavily caution bringing your friends or your significant other into your static, as statics can get quite heated and there can be a lot of drama, so mixing those two together could not be the best idea. As you're looking for these new members, you need to keep in mind your own criteria for the group. So when you are looking at their looking for group posts, see if their hours and their mentality match up with the group you're trying to build. On another side note, it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention FFlogs in this video. If you are unaware, FFlogs is a tool as well as a website used by raiders primarily in order to measure their performance inside of the harder content. How to properly go through and use FFlogs could be a whole separate video, and there's already some great videos from other creators out there, such as FFX.
This is one thing that I do, and this is one thing that I would recommend you guys do as well. So let's just take, like, I don't know, let's take the 10th. Let's take the 10th guy, okay? If you guys are ever trying to compare stuff like this, you need to go under your character. And the thing that you need to compare is like the number of casts, because this will give you a better, like, this tells you nothing about your rotation, right? This just tells you, you know, like this is like when you weigh yourself on the scale. You know, sometimes that weight can be deceptive, right? And so whenever you're trying to compare your numbers, like sometimes you just have a ridiculous crit, right? Like I'm sure you guys have like looked at FFlogs and you'll look at the top guy or, you know, top person or whatever, and you'll like look at their crits and you're like, holy shit. And their damage is just like so much higher than yours, but the casts are the same. So you should take that as like, you shouldn't take that as a bad thing because they just got lucky. But if your casts are the same, then you did everything that you could and it's out of your hands. So you shouldn't feel bad.
As stated by Zeno in his video, in order to efficiently use FFlogs, there's a lot more that goes into it than just simply looking at the parse number, with 100 being the best and 90 plus being really good. The issue with only looking at the parse number is that it doesn't tell you the full picture of how that individual will perform inside of a prog environment. meaning how fast they're able to learn new mechanics or their consistency when going through phases in an ultimate. So I will link to his video below, and I highly suggest you check it out if you're serious about learning how to use FFlogs. If someone looks like they'd be a good fit for your group, you should reach out to them and start a conversation. Here is where you'd clarify any missing context that you need, whether that be someone's hours or someone's mentality about the game. If everything looks good and seems to be clicking, here is where you'd set up a trial, which is a session where the new member and the existing group would typically run either an extreme trial or one of the savage turns, and this will give you both an opportunity to see if you're a good fit for each other. If you are building the static as the only member and you're recruiting 7 other people that are new to you, then you can still set up a trial where you guys will run either an extreme or savage turn, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to parse through everybody all at once like that. In this scenario, I would suggest running a few different sessions with the group at large and seeing if everybody clicks or if anybody needs to be replaced. Now that you've got a group together, it's time to actually follow through on your commitments. This includes sticking to your schedule, managing group discussions, setting up clear goals for progression, and holding everyone in the group accountable. When it comes to handling accountability within the group, communication is key. You need to be transparent and clear about any expectations that aren't being met or any issues that arise. I would strongly suggest creating an environment where everyone in the group can feel open to speak their mind and bring up issues during progression. And for any larger issues, I suggest keeping those privately between you and that member. It's also a good idea to do check-ins with your members and see how they're feeling about the group's direction, if they're struggling with anything, or any other concerns they may have. You can help avoid a lot of smaller issues blowing up into larger issues this way. As for handling replacements when a member isn't fitting in, if you have already tried to work with that member and correct any issues that were there, yet they still remain present, then that's when you'll know for certain it's time for a replacement. Unfortunately, this is one of the worst parts of being a static leader because replacements are never fun. But you need to remember, as a leader, your goal is to maintain the group's harmony, so sometimes replacements are necessary. And lastly, don't forget to have fun. Progression is important, but the main goal is to enjoy the game and create memories with your group, whether that be in a more casual group where you're just cracking jokes and having a good time, or in a more hardcore serious group where you guys are getting the enjoyment out of overcoming something really difficult together. Anyhow, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions or different perspectives you'd like to share from either your own time in a static or leading a static, please let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed watching, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It really helps me out and will keep you notified the next time I upload. Also, I live stream over on Twitch and YouTube at Libo on all platforms, where you can catch me playing Final Fantasy XIV as well as other games. So come drop by. With that said, good luck out there, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye.